welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello listeners, and welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips and I will be your host for the next hour. And if you are listening live, then feel free to phone us on 604-504-7441, extension 4142, and you can email your questions to info@drlesleyphillips.com. Of course, if you're a new listener, I should explain about Unlocking Your Truth. We are a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. Every week we have a different discussion topic. For the first 20 minutes of the show lasts for an hour, but after that the phone lines are open and you can phone us up, join in the discussion topic, or ask a question that you would like an intuitive insight about. So people phone up and ask about all sorts of things: relationships, career, life purpose, their own spiritual abilities, their health, their finances, really anything that you want. You can phone up and ask for a spiritual perspective. So I'm a professional intuitive and I will just tune into you live on air and give you some information, some intuitive guidance. So without further ado, today we are going to ask the question, what is truth? And is truth the same for everybody? I wanted to ask the question, what is the truth? And is the truth the same for everyone? Now, you'll often hear in spiritual circles, we are one. So if we are one, does that mean that there's one truth? Well, my perspective on that is no, it doesn't. The one that we are is source energy. Some people call that God. And God is eternal and all-knowing. And because God is everything, then God sees the whole. But we are fragments of source energy. We are particles of the great all that is. And what that means is that as particles of God, we each have a unique perspective. And, in a way, that's why we were created. You can imagine that source energy, well, what will happen if I pinch off all these unique parts of my wholeness so that each one contains a unique part of me, so that no single one of them is the same, and each will have a different perspective and a different viewpoint. So what fun will occur when they get together and interact from the perspective of their uniqueness? So here we are on planet Earth, each one unique, each seeing the world from a unique perspective, and some of our perspectives might overlap a little bit and some might be so very far apart. And when we have a common perspective on things or a common belief system, then we create clubs around that, like political parties, religions, sport, and so on. And each of those groups believes it knows the real truth, doesn't it? It believes it knows the real truth and spends time trying to convince everyone else that that is the real truth. And if the others won't conform, then they must be controlled and subdued and made to see the real truth. And as a result, we get war, like we have at the moment, the posturing between the US and Korea, terrorism, whether it's the Taliban in Afghanistan or other terrorist groups in other countries, or even hooliganism when it comes to sport. But that idea that one group has the real truth is and has to subjugate everybody else, that's competition with source energy. That's competition with God. It's not alignment with it. And while it happens on a global scale, it happens in the home as well. So let's make up some examples. A Catholic marries a Protestant, and each one has a different version of the truth, what the truth is about God, for example, for them. Or a liberal marries a conservative. Each one has a different version of the truth. Or one parent believes in homeschooling for the best education, and another one believes in private schooling. Each one believes that they have the truth about what's correct, and that the other one doesn't and needs to be persuaded. Maybe a parent wants to prioritize homework before dinner, whereas another one says play before dinner and do it after, so you get some exercise and nutrition before you exert your brain again. So there are so many different versions of truth that we can have within each of us compared to all the other unique individuals around us. And so why do we have these differences? Everyone is unique and has a unique perspective. And they're not wrong and you are right, and you're not right and they are wrong. Your truth is based on your beliefs. Their truth is based on their beliefs, on their unique spiritual perspective. The Pope and the Dalai Lama's truth is based on their beliefs. Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un have a unique beliefs that give them a unique perspective that's resulted in their version of the truth. So how do we come to terms with the fact that there cannot always be consensus on everything? That there is always a variety, a range of shades of grey and everything in between? Well, this is how we evolve. This is how we evolve, and it is how God evolves. That variety is necessary for our growth and our spiritual evolvement. Now, I often have, I occasionally get couples coming to me, each wanting a reading because they've got a disagreement. And, the one who's persuaded them, the couple that they've got to come, is convinced that they're right, and I'm going to put the other one right about the truth. And, of course, when that happens, that's not what I do at all, because there is no one truth. There's just two unique individuals in front of me with their own unique spiritual perspective. And my job is to put myself on their spiritual frequency, that individual spiritual frequency, to orient myself to their unique perspective, their unique path, and where they are along that unique path and in their spiritual growth, so that I can give them information that will empower them to make their own choices for themselves. And so what they get a neutral perspective. And here's a couple of examples. So I've had people come again where one party wants to see other people in the relationship and the other doesn't. And one may, that one might have brought their partner because they hope that I'll put them right and persuade them that seeing other people is the right thing to do. But invariably what happens is that each gets a neutral reading which reflects their unique path and their unique spiritual perspective. So the lover gets validated that they're learning about unconditional love by loving many people at the same time without diminishing their love for any one of them. And their partner gets validated that fidelity is an important value for them, and that they're learning about setting boundaries and making choices that align with their truth. So each one receives what they need from the perspective their unique perspective, because there is no overriding truth for everyone. Only God, only source energy knows everything. Another example is maybe one partner has a very physical perspective, and they're into physical activity, everything in the material aspect of life. And then their partner wants them to meditate and focus on their spirituality because that's what they value. So in reality, what we might find is that the more physically focused partner is helping connect the spiritually focused partner with the material world. Because what's the point of being spirit in a body if you don't focus at least some degree on the material world that your body is in? And then vice versa, that the spiritual partner is helping the one that's totally focused on the physical open up to a spiritual perspective. Each one has a unique perspective to teach the other, and each can learn from their partner. Neither has the whole truth, neither is right, neither is wrong. They're just reflections of the infinite variety of source energy coming to dance together. We are particles of God. And we each have a part to play. We each have a piece of the picture and a part to play in the great symphony of souls. And by playing with each other, we get to expand in new and exciting ways. And just think, what would the world be like if, imagine what the world would be like if everyone was the same. There wouldn't be any growth, would there? And imagine what it would be like as well if we didn't do what we do at the moment, which is try to impose our truth on other people. Which is more limiting, imposing one perspective on everything, or accepting there are billions of perspectives and celebrating our differences? And choosing what's our truth without imposing it on others. So we're all here on this earth to be students and teachers. We all have a unique perspective. We all have something that we can give and teach to others, and we all have a lot that we can learn from others as well. So, listeners, that's my perspective on truth. That the only entity or being, if you like, that has everything, that knows everything, is source energy or God, because source energy is the wholeness of everything. We are fragments of that, and therefore our perspective, you might say, is fragmented. It's different. My truth might appeal to you, it might resonate to you, you might listen to this show and think, that's helping me a lot. Or you might listen to this show and say, no, it's not my thing, because there is not one truth for everybody. So I hope that you've enjoyed our journey on unlocking your truth into what is the truth. And you're listening on CIVL on 101.7 FM, and we'll be going to some advertisements in a moment. And if you would like to phone up, then grab a pen. The number is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. Once again, that's 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And you can also email info@drlesleyphillips.com. And here we're going to the ads, and we'll be back shortly. Well, hello listeners, and welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips, and I am your host. Now, we do have a caller on the line, which is Susie. Hello, Susie.
Hi.
Hi. And just before you ask your question, I want to check. We had a technical problem. We couldn't hear Corey. I want to see if we can hear him. Can we hear you, Corey? Oh, I can't hear you still. Huh. Okay. Corey, can you speak again? Okay. Oh, we're doing some new technical things this evening, Susie, and who knows what's going wrong here. But anyway, let me take your question.
Yeah.
So what question do you have for us today?
Well, I'm doing a lot of work on opening up my channels, like my meridian channels.
Yeah.
And owning my space, which has taken me quite some time. And of course, I'm working a lot on the reproductive area.
Yeah.
As well, because that's where my largest energy limitation has been.
Yeah.
So, and I'm curious because I've been doing a lot of work, and I have come to some insights that I wanted to know if you could see, or I don't know if you want to know what my insights are, or if you would want to just see what you see.
No, tell us your insights, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, so I've been doing some tapping as well, and also, reading and stuff on myself. And I have noticed, I think the root of my issue, one of the roots, and I'm sure there's a few, but one of the roots has to do with nourishment, and it has to do with a sort of I'm seeing like a family dynamic where there was a lack of nourishment, that I didn't get nourished, and so therefore my immune system didn't take full strength because of a lack of nourishment.
Mm.
So picking up on that, so I've been clearing away sort of invalidation around being nourished. Does that make sense?
Clearing invalidation around being nourished. And when you say that your family environment wasn't nourishing, is that from when you were a baby, or from when you... Tell us a bit more about what that was like.
Sure. Well, my family is actually very nice. Like, they're nice people, and we do get along. But there's also sometimes unconscious patterns that are going on a deeper level.
Right.
Because, on the surface, we don't just, we tend to get along quite well. But there was some message I got that somehow said, you cannot receive nourishment.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it happened extremely early. And I think it was maybe a misunderstanding that I had, or something that I interpreted. And I could go on, for example, I could go on and on about this, but I'm noticing it in certain patterns. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. My family members almost never phone me, ever, ever, ever. Even though we're I'm sure I'm not the only one who's like that in the family. I think there's probably other people who feel that way too. But it's just interesting, it's hard to explain. We get along nicely when we're all together, but there is a message deep in me that says, somehow there's a disconnect there.
One more question before I take a look. What do you know about your mother's pregnancy with you?
Well, what do I know? I don't actually know about the pregnancy itself, but I do know, a bit about what her life situation was at the time. But I don't know the pregnancy.
What was it? What was her life situation like at the time?
Well, at the time, I would have been, it was a new relationship, so I would have been the firstborn of the new relationship.
Okay.
So it's a certain position in the family.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
All right. Well, let me go into trance and take a look at what's going on.
Okay.
You keep your eyes open. And listeners, I'm just going into a slightly altered state of consciousness so that I can take a look at Susie's energy. And I'm actually looking at your timeline to see where the issue that arose came from. And while you were talking, I was told to look in the womb, and I will look at that in a minute. But on your timeline, since after you were born, I'm seeing that there is something very, very early, like 12 to 18 months old. And I'll first take a look at what that has to do with. Well, I'll tell you what I'm seeing. I'm seeing an image of you as like a toddler with a crust of bread in your hand. And you tell me if this sounds right, because it looks like, of course, at that age, you're relying on the adults to give you food. You don't have a choice. You can't say, well, I want to eat leafy greens. If all they're giving you is glutinous bread, that's what you get. So I'm seeing that, it looks like you were given, I'm seeing biscuits and bread, and I'm seeing that quite a lot of what you were given wasn't what your body craved. But at that age, you don't even know what other food exists. If that's what the family has and what the family eats, that's what the family has and what the family eats. So I am seeing something going on that level to do with nourishment. But I also want to look at and it looks like there wasn't much thought that went into. It's almost like, well, doesn't look like it was really thought about in particular. The correct nourishment and the correct balance of food that you ought to be given as a child. And then let me just see if there's anything else that comes up apart from that physical, what you were being fed. Yeah, that some of it, it's almost, I don't want to use the word neglect, because it's not the kind of neglect that parents would be locked up for in jail, but I'm just seeing it's sort of like, oh, well, she's all right, give her a crust of bread, or she's all right, leave her to play on her own. So the nourishment would be sort of in terms of stimulation as well, in terms of paying you attention and stimulating you in the way that you would have thrived, the kind of stimulation that would have caused you to thrive. It looks like it wasn't there. And was your family particularly affectionate physically or not?
No, I wouldn't say. I mean, they weren't. Yeah, no, I would say I wouldn't say exceptionally.
Yeah. I was seeing that
they were certainly nice people, but I wouldn't say they were.
Yeah. So I would validate what you're saying there, and I'm going to take a look at what's going on in the womb.
And as well as the reproductive area, not just the womb.
Pardon?
It's the you remember it's the other area just below the womb there. It's around.
Oh no, I was going to look at your mother's womb when you were.
Oh, my mother's womb.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, because that had come up when you were talking to take a look at. Was she a smoker or a drinker or anything like that?
Not. You know what? I don't really know, because I don't think so. But if she was, it would have been early on, because she didn't start thing like that till later.
Yeah. Well, it just looks like there was something going on in the womb in terms of transfer of nourishment through the umbilical cord, and it's got something to do. It's got something to do with oxygen, and that's why I was asking about smoking. But it got to do with the amount of oxygen that was being able to be transferred through from her blood to yours through the umbilical cord, and it may be that she was anemic as opposed to a smoker, or perhaps, but I think perhaps she was a smoker. There was something, but there was something going on there, and and so it's almost like if you were a plant. If you take a seed and you can put it in one pot and give it the best fertilizer and the best as much water and sunlight that it needs, and it will grow big and bushy and beautiful. And you can take the same seed and give it a bit less water and a bit less nutrition and a bit less sunlight, and it might grow to be a bit different.
Yeah.
And so I would just validate what you were picking up on in terms of nourishment. And I mean, your question was how did that like affect your immune system, and also looking at your own reproductive system. Well, that's interesting on the reproductive system, because that's something we've not seen before, which is, well, clearing any way that your experience in your mother's womb is imprinted on your own reproductive system. It looks like is something that you could work on.
My experience in my mother's womb. Okay, yeah, lack of nourishment.
Yeah, because now you're an adult and it's up to you, you know, and I know you take care of yourself very well in terms of nourishment and everything else, but, you know, but just any of that, that's there. And then, see if there's anything to say about the immune system.
I can interject it. It seems to be, it's not that I'm not eating well, it's that my cells aren't taking it up well. Like, I feel like I'm not soaking it up properly. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So back to the diet as a toddler, and
yeah.
And that's where the immunity comes in, because the digestive tract is part of the immune system, believe it or not. I'm sure you know that. And so it looks like there is something going on in the digestive system with respect to immunity and absorption of nutrients. And I'm sure, you probably don't even eat gluten anymore, do you?
No. But I've just taken it out in the last 5 months, so it's probably still...
Yeah. I'm seeing that there's, what I'm getting, you might have to Google this because I'll give you something to do with an immunoglobulin. I'm seeing,
okay.
If I was at home giving you a reading, we could get more details about this, but there's some kind of immune... It may be some food allergies that are going on in the digestive tract. And it may also be that there is something going on with the absorption of nutrients in the digestive tract. And so I would say what's coming up today is just clearing out any energy from your childhood around this, and from your conception and gestation around this.
Around nourishment.
Yeah. But I would validate, I mean, it definitely, what you're tuning into is definitely a part of the whole picture.
Yeah. I would say it is. It's definitely coming up.
Yes, it is. Well, it's really nice to connect with you again, and thank you for calling the show, Susie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, well, we'll say goodbye for now.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Yeah.
Oh, well, listeners, that was Susie, and I'm going to just check if we can hear Corey, because somebody was in here fiddling with the board while we were talking, and we still can't hear him. So, oh, all right, well, you are listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley, and today we were talking about truth. What is truth? And is there one truth that we all should abide by or not? And my perspective was not, because we are all unique individuals. We are all unique sparks of divine consciousness, and the only entity that knows it all is source energy, and we don't. So we just have our own unique perspective, and we're all different, and we're all learning from each other. We're still taking your calls. I'll read out the number again: 604-504-7441, extension 4142. Once again, 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And of course, the email is info@drlesleyphillips.com. And we will be back after the following messages. Hello listeners, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips and I am your host. Today on the show we've been talking about truth. And we have another caller. And so, caller, hello.
Hello there.
Hi.
My name is Teresa.
Hello.
Hello. I was calling about one of my past lives.
Mm.
Could you tell me a little bit about a past life I've had?
Oh, sure.
Because I know you've told me there are many.
Okay, and is there any particular thing you're interested in, or you just want to do a lucky dip and see what comes up?
Let's do a lucky dip.
Okay. All right, keep your eyes open, Teresa, and we will take a look. And I just want to, before I do again, I'm going to ask Corey to say something just to see. No, we still can't hear him. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a look and give you some information on a past life. So bear with me. And usually when I do a past life reading, I always like to orient in terms of the current life and what's going on in the current life. And I'm seeing, it's kind of interesting because I'm seeing that you're on your path, you're in alignment with Source, but it looks like you've hit, I don't know whether it's a time you're feeling confused, but there is to some degree, oh, here we go, now I'm, okay. Now I see what it is. You're at the beginning of a new growth cycle, and you've just been sloughing off and letting go of the old growth cycle. And so I was, let me just take a look at what that new growth cycle has to do with. Owning my space and making my own choices from my own information versus being influenced by other people and making choices based on their information. So it looks like you are setting yourself up for a growth cycle that has to do with that, where you're wanting to look at where am I honoring my truth, where am I being authentic, and where am I not. So that's what I'm seeing about you right here, right now. And we're going to ask for a past life to come up and see what we get. Well, this is a life in the 1600s, and it looks like it's in France. And you're in a female body.
Okay.
And let's see. You look fairly well off. And it looks like you... It's kind of, do you know what it reminds me of? You know, in the United States, they have these pageants for toddlers and they dress them up so that they look like grown women, even though they're not. Mm-hmm. So you look like a woman. You're dressed in like a silk gown and a wig, and yet I'm seeing that you are not a woman yet. So you're maybe 11 or 12 years old, but you're being prepared for going into society. You're being prepared for that, and it looks like you belong to a really perhaps nobility, but definitely a very wealthy family and I'm seeing at the time I'm looking at you, it's sort of fairly palatial, and yet at the same time it's in the countryside. But you're receiving an education that equips you to be in society as, and the education it's how to look attractive, how to move in an attractive manner, how to converse with men, how to converse, how to hold your own in polite society, and I'm seeing that the reason is that it's almost like you're a commodity. You're a commodity that you, if done correctly, you can, the family can leverage you into a political match or into an advantageous match. So it's in that, marrying to create family connections and for self-interest. And I'm seeing that this is your world, and you don't particularly see anything wrong with it. I'm actually seeing that you're quite excited about what will it be like when I go on these adventures that I'm being prepared to go on. And I'm seeing you're actually looking forward to it. And one of the reasons is that you're quite lonely, and I'm actually not seeing a lot of other children around you either, and so it's almost like one of those childhoods that isn't allowed to be a childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else. And I'm not seeing a mother and around you. I'm seeing a father who is not that interested in you, and who is very in society and maybe in politics and maybe in business, and I'm not seeing that he particularly spent any time on your upbringing. He appointed people to do it, and told them what he wanted and how he wanted you to be formed and what your destiny was and all of that. And so to some degree, I'm just seeing that you were kind of brainwashed by what they said you were in the world for. So let me see any more information. Well, and so now we can see a direct parallel between that and what I was seeing in the rose. So I was seeing in the rose that you were going into a growth cycle that was about making your own decisions, knowing your own truth, speaking from your own authentic voice, as opposed to doing what other people wanted you to. And this was a life, at least at the age we're looking at, where it was all about doing what other people wanted, and not even fathoming that there was any other way to go about things, just being completely programmed in that way. I'm going to move forward in that lifetime and see what growth and evolvement happened from the point that we first saw.
Okay.
Well, I fast forwarded to a point in time where you have a husband. And the dynamic that I'm seeing at that point in time is that all your energy is going into trying to please this husband, because that's what you've been trained to do. Be pleasing to others, be pleasing to men, be pleasing to your husband, serve your husband. And I'm seeing that you are exhausted at all of your energy going outside of yourself to try and please others. And I'm seeing that he doesn't really, it's almost like you married a man, they would say you marry someone like your father. Well, it's like he seems relatively disinterested in what you do. He's not particularly, doesn't think to be grateful, doesn't compliment you, kind of takes you for granted. And so I'm seeing that very much that was the theme of that life, was it's like not losing yourself, because the losing of yourself happened really early on because of the programming from the way you were brought up. But it was like you really knew what it felt like, in a way, to not matter, or to matter so little that you were just almost like a puppet, a trained puppet. And so I want to see again what happens after this point in the life, because you're starting to look really exhausted by this whole thing. Well, I'm seeing that you had children. I'm seeing that you did gain happiness from being a mother, that you spent a lot of time with your children so that you gave them an upbringing that was different to your own, that you loved them and you wanted them to feel loved. So in a way, out of you wanted them to be happier than than you were. And then I'm seeing that from the point at which you've got the children in the family and then they're grown up and you're a grandmother and all of that, I'm seeing that then there was some more balance in terms of you gained pleasure in, well, looks like you played with your children and grandchildren, and it looks like that, I mean, that wasn't what you got in your childhood, so you managed to reclaim some of your childhood through the children that you brought up. And also just the mutual affection. So I just want to take a look at if there's anything else to say. Just, the people who, if there are people in your life right now that you're expending a lot of energy and trying to please, it's sort of like, don't bother pleasing the people that can't be pleased. The one that you're here to please is actually yourself. So that's what I'm seeing for you for a past life.
Okay.
Did that resonate for you, Teresa?
Well, I started thinking about my job as a teacher, and kind of was going to ask you if there was any life having to do with a career change. So that could be the ending of a old growth, and entering a new growth cycle.
Yeah.
And it's pleasing the class with all these great lessons.
Right. Well, yeah.
And the father of this woman is very much like my father and my mother in it. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing that you, like I said, it looks like you had a fairly large family and definitely lots of grandchildren, and that they gained a lot from their interaction with you. And in a way, more just from the things that arose in the playfulness and amusement that arose in the moment.
Okay.
All right, so I have to let you go because we're nearing the end of the show. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling in.
Oh, well, thank you for your insights.
You're welcome. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Well, listeners, that's the end of Unlocking Your Truth for this week. The theme today was truth. What is it? Is there one overriding truth for all of us, or do we just have our own individual truths? And my perspective was that we have our own individual truths. So we will be back next week on Unlocking Your Truth at 7 o'clock, so do tune in. You can live stream on civl.ca. You can listen on 101.7 FM. And you can also catch us on our podcasts at drlesleyphillips.com. And if anyone is interested in developing their intuition, then contact me at drlesleyphillips@gmail.com, because we have a course starting next week all about developing your intuition. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.